I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. Tonight's show is a show that has a somewhat ominous title to it, and so I'm going to try to sort of guide you through what the planets are doing this week, and hopefully I can explain things that can be to your advantage, because there still could be some things that are not to your advantage. You might want to look out for those. And so the title of tonight's show is A High Climb Cannot Be Done. And so if in your ambition for fame and fortune and leadership that you wanted to make a high climb to the top of something, this is not the week you're going to be able to do it. And that's because of the way the planets are placed. That doesn't mean that there aren't other good things that you can take advantage of, but climbing a high climb to the top, no matter what you try to do, is not going to work this week. One of the big reasons for that is that there is a harsh T-cross of 5 planets in the mutable signs. They are the same 5 planets that were there last week. You know, they've been around for a while. It's just the moon that has moved on. And the difference is, last week there were 5 planets in mutable signs squaring each other or challenging each other, but the other 2 mutable signs were empty. However, this week, 3 of the 4 mutable signs have planets in them, and that heightens the tension a little bit among these planets. And so the 4 mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. They all have planets in them except Sagittarius. And so it's a little bit difficult for a person who has high ambitions, perhaps motivated by financial concerns, to want to get to the top or have control or be a leader and have everybody do everything their way. I don't think that can be done this week. So the 5 planets that are challenging each other are the moon today, which has moved into Virgo. Virgo is an analytical earth sign, and it rules analysis, and it rules how things have to add up. So Virgos are very factual and detail-oriented, and it rules the healthcare industry, and it rules your health, both physically and mentally, because it rules the central nervous system, but it also rules your mental state of mind as well. That moon is being strongly opposed by Venus, which is retrograde in Pisces, and Saturn, which is there, and Mercury, which is also in Pisces. It's direct now, though, and the lucky north node of the moon. So all these planets are sort of ganging up on that little moon in Virgo and really challenging it from behind the scenes. Okay, so one reason why people can't make it to the top this week is there can be people behind the scenes that are doing different things, perhaps to stop them from doing that. We don't know. Pisces rules things behind the scenes, so it can be hidden a little bit. But these 4 planets are also all being squared or challenged by Jupiter in Gemini. And Jupiter is direct, and Gemini rules youth, and it rules easy transitional change, and it rules part-time or temporary work, short journeys, short forms of training and education, and it certainly does rule people who sort of have the gift of gab, and they're pretty good at selling things, because Gemini rules buying and selling as well. But these 5 planets are in harsh aspect to each other, and they're all dumping their frustration into the 4th mutable sign, which is Sagittarius, and doesn't have anything in it, so it's getting challenged by all of them. So there may be a pretty good reason why somebody, I'm not saying it's you, but it could be somebody you know of or that you work with, that they have ambitious aims to climb to the top, be number 1, and be a leader, or more or less tell other people what to do, and that just isn't going to happen right now. And there are various reasons for it. The harsh T-cross and mutable signs is an indication that one reason why you just don't have a straight shot to the top right now is because there's a lot of other people, just ordinary, everyday people that are worried about their own lives, that have so many worries on their mind that they are really not going to spend too much time paying attention to somebody who wants to climb their way to the top right now. Somebody very ambitious and perhaps a little greedy. They're not paying attention to that. They're being cautious. That moon in Virgo rules caution, and they can be sure of their own feelings enough to not want to swallow anybody else's hype right now, or anybody else's, whatever kind of thing they're pulling in order to get what they want. Nobody's really going to swallow that right now. So people who are worried about their own lives are not going to jump on the bandwagon of somebody who wants to climb to the top right now. They're just not in the mood. They've got enough on their minds. But also, there are planets that are squaring each other right now, and there are 2 of them in the cardinal signs, and then there's another 2 in the fixed signs. So let's hit the fixed signs first, because they're in trouble. And that is because Uranus is in Taurus. Now, Taurus is a fixed financial sign, but Uranus is a planet of volatility and sudden surprising change, and you never know what's going to happen. That's why it's called a malefic planet. It rules rebellion as well. And Taurus rules the New York Stock Exchange. Ooh, so that could be going up and down. But that Uranus in Taurus is actually being tried by that moon in Virgo. Didn't have any backup last week, but it's got backup this week. So you would think that there would be some people around that are more cautious, or they have their finances under control, and they can sort of ride out deep fluctuations and change in their financial fortunes. There could be some people like that because the moon in Virgo is trining Uranus. But that Uranus has bigger problems than just other people who are sort of sitting on the sidelines and sort of waiting to see what happens. Because Uranus in Taurus is being squared by Pluto in Aquarius. And these are fixed signs. And fixed signs don't budge. So they don't work well together. They either oppose each other or square each other. It's a challenge no matter what. And so that Pluto, which rules powerful people who have their eye on the future, because that's Aquarius rules the future, are wondering where the money's going to come from. That's Uranus in Taurus. If the financial situation looks a little shaky, then so does the future of people that have got a lot of vision and are going to need some money to pay for it down the road. So that's a problem. And so that's another reason why people with high ambition right now, perhaps motivated by greed, who want to be a leader or be in control of things, are not going to be able to do it this week. The pressure is too intense, particularly about financial matters. But there are people who are so sure of their own feelings that they're really sticking to them. Now, if that's you, maybe you should be doing that, because there are 4 planets trying to each other in the water signs, and the water signs rule our feelings. And so Mars is in Cancer, and it is trining Venus, Saturn, and Mercury in Pisces. And together they are all trining the sign of Scorpio, which is the other fixed financial sign and rules money coming in from other people or other sources. If you could be very sure of your feelings, okay, and that may not have anything to do with money, may not have anything to do with high ambitions either. If you just in your heart, you're sure of your feelings and who you care about. One way to measure that is, who would you like to spend your time with? Not your money, just your time. Well, take a look at that. You're probably right about that. And they may be right about it too if you're thinking of someone else. Because these very strong planets trine each other in a trine in the water signs, which is good. But on the other hand, that same Mars in Cancer and Cancer's a cardinal sign. That same Mars in Cancer is squaring the Sun and Neptune in Aries. And this square is the main reason why somebody who wants to make a high climb to the top because they're ambitious and perhaps a little greedy and want to be in control, why they're not going to make it right now. It can't be done. And the reason why is that Mars is the ruler of Aries. And it is squaring the sign it rules. That's no good. It's not going to bring out the best in an Aries at all because its ruler is squaring it. And that Mars is well backed up. Remember, it's part of the trine in the water signs. And it rules two signs, Aries, which it's not getting along with right now, and Scorpio, which it's trining. So there's a lot of backup in the water signs, and there isn't in the fire signs. The two planets in Aries, the Sun and Neptune, have no backup. There's nothing in Leo and there's nothing in Sagittarius. And the ruler is squaring it. You know, it isn't just that somebody can be caught between a rock and a hard place. They're going underwater. They're not going to make it to the top. And they may realize they've been kidding themselves a lot. Neptune, now that it has gone into Aries, is a planet of dreams and of creativity, but it is also a planet of deceptions and omissions and kidding yourself. And it isn't happy in a sign that is a fire sign, because Neptune, you know, it rules Pisces, and Pisces rules feelings that we have, and particularly behind the scenes. So somebody who is ambitious, which is what an Aries would be, somebody who's very ambitious has been kidding themselves about that. And that's why they're not going to make it to the top. And other people can see that. And so it isn't just that other people have worries of their own, particularly with Jupiter and Gemini squaring the mutable planets in Pisces and the moon in Virgo. It means that young people do not see the advantage of somebody who wants to climb to their top, climb to the top and be in control and find money to do what they want to do. Young people can be saying, well, what's in it for me? How does that affect my future? Who's going to pay for it? So young people are, you know, that Jupiter and Gemini, that squares the planets in Pisces. And it squares the moon in Virgo. So young people do not understand sort of why people that are overly ambitious right now, and perhaps a little greedy, they can see that they want to get to the top. You usually do see that. You can see that pretty clearly in very ambitious people. But young people can't see what's in it for them. And the people who are just going along doing their everyday jobs or concerned about their own lives, they don't know what's going on either. And they certainly don't see a benefit to somebody else climbing to the top. So nobody's going to be able to do it because there's going to be no backup for it. And whoever wants to climb their way to the top right now is kidding themselves. They're either not qualified. I mean, greed can only take you so far. Sooner or later, if anybody's going to put their money on your nose, you've got to have some proof that you're worthy of it. So they may not have a track record that can substantiate their high aims right now. They may not have proven themselves before, so why would anybody pay for that now? So you see, a lot of people are in doubt right now for good reasons, not bad reasons. And so you have to be a little bit careful and, make wise choices right now, or else what you might want to do is lower your sights. And if you were an ambitious person that wanted to climb to the top, it's not going to happen now. It can't happen. You have no backup. And you're being challenged. And people don't understand everything about what you're doing or what you want, or they cannot see a benefit to it, to them. But on the other hand, if you weren't that highly ambitious, but you did still want to get ahead in one way or another, what you would need to do is lower your sights a little bit. I mean, if you're saying, I have to have all of this right now, is there a way that maybe you could think a little bit in smaller sections and say, well, maybe I can't get everything I want right now, but I could try for a piece of that. Or I could prepare better to do something down the road. Or, you know, I could wait until financial times are better. Something like that. Could you just take smaller steps right now? Or could you lower your sights a little bit? Because if you could, if you're not one of the ones that's aiming to climb to the top of that heap, you know, I think you could still make progress. It doesn't mean that things are stopping an awful lot of people. Well, the person who wants to climb their way to the top right now and has been kidding themselves, they're not going to make it because they are kidding themselves, and there's a lot of opposition to them doing that. But on the other hand, if you're just dreaming a dream and you've started to prepare for that, or you started to take some steps in the right direction, I would encourage you to keep trying those small steps. There's nothing wrong with that. There are planets that are trining each other, and the big one is the water signs. The planets in the water signs that are trining each other, meaning that, you know, if it was just down to if you could just answer one question right now, how do I feel about something? What's in my heart? You know, if you could get the answer to that, and you acted on that, not in this big grandiose way, but one step at a time, you'd probably be very true to yourself and to others, and you'd probably be successful. So give that a go. Good luck. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. For you, Aries, it isn't that you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think it's a little bit more like there's something in your life that represents a foggy picture, or you know, I don't think you can see something really clearly, or if you can see some things clearly, you can't see the rest. You know, maybe in your vision, you could be thinking, well, I want to get to the top right now, and I think I can do it. You could have a lot of confidence in yourself. The sun is in your sign. But on the other hand, there are so many things that go into taking responsibility for others when you do get to the top. See, Aries rules the I am. You could be real good at being responsible for yourself, Aries. I believe that. But are you ready to take responsibility for a lot of other people? And are you ready to satisfy their needs, not just your own? And are you ready to look at a big picture of where you're going and how to get there? And who else it would benefit? In other words, can you take a much broader view of your ambition right now than just what you want? There's some disconnect there. There's something, if you're seeing exactly what you want, Aries, you may not be seeing how your actions would affect others right now. But others can see that, I guarantee you. There's enough squares and oppositions going around right now. And a lot of people have worries of their own. And they know what those are. And so I would say that this is a better time for you to step back and recheck yourself. Ask yourself, are you ready for not just to climb your way to the top and have a fancy title and be a leader and you know, in the spotlight or in the media? I'm sure you'd love all that, Aries. But are you really intending to take responsibility at a higher level for so many other people? You know, Aries is the sign of new beginnings, and it rules new beginnings. It is not a finishing sign. Aries has nothing to do with finishing anything. And so I would suggest that you very quietly this week resign yourself to reviewing where you are today, and sort of ask yourself how heavy a load you want to carry right now, Aries, and whether you can do that or not. Because I think you've been kidding yourself about something. It could be a health condition that you're kidding yourself about. It could be a financial condition. Maybe you are just blithely thinking that everybody's going to pay for your for whatever you want when you climb your way to the top. Or there will always be money there for that. You'd really be kidding yourself about that, Aries. So this is not a time, I don't think, when you should advance. You should re-examine whatever it is that you're kidding yourself about. And the problem is, it isn't just outwardly or additional responsibilities you'd have to take on. It is also the state of your health and the state of your mental health. Remember, the moon's in Virgo, which rules our mental and our physical health, and it's being bombarded by a lot of planets. And, you know, we're not all as young as we used to be. So, are you sure that you can really go forward and not just succeed on your own for yourself, but for everyone else that you would be responsible for, including the money? What if things go wrong? What if the money's not there? What if a disaster hits? The people at the top generally are responsible even for things that are accidental, that they didn't control at all. But if you're at the top, you're responsible for the welfare of everyone else underneath. Have you thought that through a little bit more clearly, Aries? I'm asking, are your shoulders big enough to carry all that weight? And do you really want to? And how much would that weigh you down? I don't think you've thought of the other side of fame and fortune and power at the top. I think you're thinking of all the glory, and you're not thinking of the work or the responsibility or the blame if something goes wrong. It's the one at the top that gets blamed for everything. So you need to really think carefully and take a vacation and ask yourself if you haven't been kidding yourself about something, Aries. Because with Neptune in your sign, it is quite possible that you could have done that. And maybe not deliberately, but that you are doing that. And Neptune's going to be in your sign for years. You'll always have to sort of double check yourself for many years to come. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Taurus. Taurus, this is a time when your sign does have backup. Didn't have any last week. And so you do have backup. That's good news. But you still have a powerful square with Uranus in your sign, because Pluto in Aquarius is squaring it. And that Pluto rules powerful people that have got their eyes on the future. And they're sort of wondering how to pay for it. And you could be too if you get involved with them. And I think this is not the time for you to be spending any extra money, Taurus. Really, if you want to sell something, that might be a good idea, and put the money away. You might need it, because your sign is backed up. The moon in Virgo today is trining that Uranus in your sign. Well, the moon rules Cancer, and Cancer rules real estate. This may be a better time to sell than to buy. Because even if you had to get a lower price for something, it's money in your bank account. And that's what you ought to be thinking about right now, Taurus, nothing else. Don't think of how am I going to spend that money. Just think of getting the money and putting it away, because you may need it as time goes on. Uranus is going to leave your sign on July 7th, but it's coming right back into your sign for another year later on this year. So you're not really going to get away from your financial problems. And an answer to any problem that a Taurus has is always the same answer. And it is, well, I'll just work harder. And these are times when even a hardworking, ambitious person that wants to climb their way to the top is not going to make it. And they may be a very dedicated worker like you are, Taurus. And that isn't enough. It isn't enough to qualify to be at the top. Because there's so much more connected to somebody who's having to shoulder the responsibility not only for their own success, but everybody else underneath them. And that could have large implications even all over the world. And one thing that is going on is that a Taurus is a stubborn person. Excuse me. So they'll sort of stick it out. You know, they'll just sort of pound on something until they get it done. So a Taurus has wonderful endurance. But it takes more than that, Taurus, to be a leader. And endurance could get you up the ladder somehow, but it doesn't completely qualify you for the top. And that's because there has to be a lot more going on than your concern with what you want. And a Taurus always has that in mind. You know, yours is a fixed financial sign. A Taurus is very good at keeping their hands on, earning good money and keeping their hands on the money. It's a very possessive sign. Or on property. And there is some backup to your sign because the moon in Virgo is trining your sign right now. So I would suggest that you just take small steps to shore up your own financial condition right now and nobody else's. Just don't go beyond that, Taurus. I think there's enough of a financial problem throughout the world that everybody has to do that, but it's very important for a Taurus to make sure that they're on solid financial ground. They don't sleep at night unless they are. And so this is a time not to pay attention to the big picture and the big aims, but just how are you doing, and could you take some small steps to shore up your financial position a little bit better, just on your own. If I were you, I'd work on that, Taurus. That's a good idea right now. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, Jupiter is in your sign, but oh boy, it's being squared by a lot of other planets. The moon in Virgo is squaring Jupiter in your sign, Gemini, and also Venus, Saturn, and Mercury, your own ruler, they're all in Pisces, and they're squaring Jupiter in your sign as well. Now that Jupiter has some backup, Gemini, because Pluto in Aquarius is trining it. There are people in upper management or high positions that've got their mind on the future, and you know, they'd sort of like to hook up with you, Gemini. And so that's good, because Geminis are excellent at communication, and that's what Gemini rules, is communication. And it rules part-time or temporary jobs, and buying and selling, and, you know, just talking to people. It rules public relations, for instance. And so with Jupiter in your sign, there's no doubt in my mind that you could probably branch out a little bit, Gemini, and if you could do it in a way that would bring people together. And if you have a great idea and you sort of want to sell that idea to other people or ask them to sort of climb on board with you to maybe join a committee or something and get something done, that would be fine. I think you could do that. But you should watch your health because the moon in Virgo is squaring your sun, and you should watch out for people who might have a few knives they want to stick in you behind your back. And that is because there are so many planets in Pisces that are squaring your sun right now. So I would say take small steps, Gemini, but and be careful. And yet it's important that you communicate with others right now. If nothing else, Gemini is so glib and so good at talking, and they sort of can speak other people's language. Sort of depends on what group you're with as to what language you can speak. You know that, Gemini. You're very versatile like that. And so I think that's enough for you right now. Reaching out, talking to others, maybe planning to take small steps. Good idea. Good idea, Gemini. Should you do any more than that? Well, I'd be cautious if I were you, because there can be people behind the scenes that are not thinking about what you want at all. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to climb your way to the top, because I don't think anybody's going to be able to do that right now. And also, Geminis generally don't kid themselves, but they're so diversified in their interests that they could focus on one thing, and then they want to switch around and focus on another. And so neither one of them actually gets done, because they're sort of going back and forth. And Gemini is a sign of the twins. It does rule two of everything. So you have to leave yourself enough time to do a little of this and a little of that. and to just take small steps. If you do that, I think you'll be successful, Gemini. Because some of those planets in Pisces are going to move on. The moon in Virgo is going to move on real quickly. And Pluto is still steadily trining your sun for about the next 15 to 17 years. There's always going to be somebody that's a little higher up in a management of some area. And I don't mean that they're climbing their way to the top. It is more or less that they've worked their way to, they may not be at the top, but they've worked their way to wherever they are. And they're going to be supporting you for a long time to come, Gemini. So just make sure that you don't overextend yourself right now. Be a little bit more cautious if you can. It'll pay off. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, this is a time, Cancer, when that Mars in your sign, you know, it's packing a double whammy right now. And the reason why is that Mars in Cancer is trining Venus in Pisces and Saturn and Mercury in Pisces. The Venus is retrograde, but Saturn and Mercury are direct, and so is the lucky north node of the moon. So you've got a lot of backup, Cancer, from the planets in Pisces, and they're pretty good planets. And also that Saturn in Pisces, which has been trining Mars in your sign for a long time now, simply means that behind the scenes you can be getting a lot of serious support that you're pretty interested in right now. You yourself may have a lot of energy, or else you may have been spending a lot of energy. Because that's what Mars is. Mars is an energetic planet. So for sure, Cancer, you can be very sure of your feelings right now because of this trine in the water signs. And they're all trining the sign of Scorpio, and all of the planets in Pisces are in the last decan of Pisces, which is sub-ruled by Scorpio's rulers. So, and it's a fixed financial sign. So there can be some more money coming your way, Cancer, in one way or another. And if you don't mind me suggesting something so easy, even though you're fired up with a lot of energy right now, if you have some extra money coming your way, Cancer, I would hope that you would put it away in a sock, bury it under the mattress. Don't do anything with it, Cancer. Just keep it. And so you'll sleep better at night. If you have some urgent desire to make a move, your sign rules moving, well, moves cost money. Save the money for the move. Or if you are planning to do something and you are more or less in the mode of either fixing something up or of just starting something, save the money for that. You'll need it. And so this is a time, if there is more money coming your way, just sock it away, Cancer. You'll use it, don't worry. And in the meantime, you have to stay away. Okay, so that was the good news. But in the meantime, you have to stay away from people who want to climb their way to the top, which can't be done now, and who have been kidding themselves for a long time. What have they been kidding themselves about? That they're qualified for the job. They're not. That whatever they want to do is their own idea, and everybody else ought to follow along and listen to it. That is not really a cooperative attitude. That's not a team-building attitude. That's just a do-it-my-way or take the highway kind of attitude. Be careful of those people, Cancer. And the reason why is because Mars in your sign rules two signs, Scorpio, which is trining right now, and Aries, which it is squaring. And the Sun and Neptune is now in Aries, where it will be for years. And that Mars is squaring those two. And since Mars rules Aries, somebody has got the wrong idea about trying to climb their way to the top right now. It could be their idea, but there's no support for it whatsoever. And in fact, they're kidding themselves about how well qualified they are for it. They are not. Watch out for that person, Cancer. They could be sort of wanting to take advantage of something that has to do with your home or your family, or just drawing you in, or you and your friends in, to something that they really do not have the ability or the stamina or even the forethought to assume the responsibility that they're desiring. So they're kidding themselves. And you really have to stay away from people like that, Cancer, because you're very sure of your own feelings right now, particularly the ones you've had behind the scenes. You know, Venus, Saturn, and Mercury are in Pisces behind the scenes. They're all trining your sun. And you should quietly pay attention to your own feelings right now, Cancer, and do something about them. And you don't have to announce anything to the world. You can still do something about them, though. And I would advise you to do that. With Venus in Pisces trining Mars in your sign, somebody behind the scenes that you've had your mind on could be a very congenial partner or friend or a big help to you in some way. Pisces is a very helpful sign, and Venus is there. But they are not themselves ambitious. They would be more loving. And so people would not know about that. You would probably, that could be somebody that you've been pretty quiet about, Cancer, and now's the time to do something about that while the stars are with you. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, remember I said that the big main problem why somebody who wants to make a high climb to the top right now, that climb cannot be done right now. And there's a variety of reasons for it. One is that a lot of people are sure of their feelings right now, and so they've got worries of their own. They're thinking about themselves, not selfishly, but just how to make it from day to day. And so they can't see how somebody's high climb to the top is going to do them any good. And young people don't understand what's in it for them either. And so, because the planets in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini is squaring all the planets in Pisces, and it's squaring the moon in Virgo. This is a time, I think, Leo, when you can be wanting to make a new start because the Sun and Neptune in Aries are trining your sun. Nothing else is. They're the only two planets in a fire sign. There's nothing in your sign, there's nothing in Sagittarius. So they don't actually have any backup, but they are trining your sun. It's just that your sun is under duress. And it's from heavy-duty planets that have been there for a while, and one of them's going to stay there for the next 15 or 17 years, and that is Pluto, which is opposing your sun sign, which means that other people who are in upper management or are ahead of their time and wanting to go into the future are not going to take you with them, Leo. Now, this may not break your heart because Leos like to be their own boss. They like to start things. They like to be captain of the team. And so with these two planets in Aries trining your sun, you could be thinking of making some sort of climb to the top. It cannot be done now, Leo. And one of the reasons is that other people that are ahead of their time are sort of zooming past you. They've got their minds on something way beyond what you're thinking of. And the other thing is that Uranus is in Taurus and it is squaring your sun. And it's in a fixed financial sign, harshly squaring your sun. And so it simply means that you should be watching your own money, Leo. And I wouldn't be spending it. I would be trying to accumulate it. In other words, if there's anything that you have as a sort of a luxury item or, you know, a vacation home or something like that, and you were thinking of, you know, putting more money away, well, why don't you sell it? Jupiter is in Gemini. It rules selling, buying and selling. It sextiles your sun. You should do some buying and selling now, Leo. The reason why is that everybody, you know, nobody's going to make it to the top, the high climb to the top of the heap now. But everybody is concerned about financial matters. And if you're in a position where you could sell something and just put the money away right now, or pay off some bills, or if you've lost a gamble anywhere, maybe you are going to have to sort of make up for that loss, then you ought to do it. But if you, on the other hand, since your sign rules extravagance, Leo, if you're deciding to do something, and your sign rules horse racing, well, if you decide since summer's coming you're going to bet on the ponies, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Nobody should take a gamble. If you're sure of what your feelings are and you follow your heart, that's a good idea. But if you're decided to take a gamble because you think you can make it, you're kidding yourself. So are a lot of other people if they're thinking like that. This is the time to bring things closer to you, not to be throwing them around. So Leo, these are not the good old days. And if you've been thinking that you are somehow bulletproof and that no matter what else happens in anybody else's finances, nothing will ever happen to yours, you are kidding yourself. Because wherever your money is coming from is dependent upon what other people do, or how they manage it, or how they think about it, or how you manage it and think about it. And the only suggestion I have is take small steps in anything that you want to do, or lower your sights. Don't raise them right now. That way, no matter what is happening around you financially, you could be a little bit more calm, and you could at least, I don't think you can expand your lifestyle right now. This is not the time to be extravagant, but you could probably handle either your lifestyle or your money a little bit more wisely if you tried, Leo. This is a very good time to concentrate on that, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, the moon is in your sign. Okay, that means there's a lot of light on you, Virgo. And Virgos are good problem solvers. So, Virgo, have you noticed that there's more and more people that are bringing their problems to you? Somehow they magically think you are going to solve their problems for them? Well, first of all, you probably didn't make the problem, so you're really not responsible for it. You, in your effort to want to be of assistance to people, and Virgos like to be of assistance, you could sort of walk into a little, a nest of problems, none of which you caused yourself, Virgo, but a nest of other people's problems. All the planets in Pisces oppose the moon in your sign. Jupiter in Gemini is squaring the moon in your sign. There is a relationship somewhere in your life, Virgo, that is not going smoothly. And either somebody's kidding you or you're kidding yourself about them, but it's not going smoothly. It's not going the way you would like. And I think that this is a time, Virgo, when you probably would be a little bit better off if you did not diversify so much, but that you made some sort of tough choices right now about just simple things that you can concentrate on and sort of solve your own problems. And don't spend any more time trying to solve anybody else's because, you know, everybody has to grow up on their own, Virgo, including you. And so if we've got a problem, if you've got a problem, whether it's a health problem or a financial problem or a relationship problem or some problem behind the scenes that nobody else knows you're worried about, but you are, it would be a little bit better if you just focused in on what you're worried about right now. And don't blame other people for your worries. You're smart. You can sort of take a look at something and say, well, how will I handle this? What will I do about it? It doesn't even matter who made the problem or where that problem is going or how it's affecting you. You need a solution, Virgo. And Uranus in Taurus is trining your sun. It could be a financial solution that you need. And so if the value of your investments has fallen, you'll have to reposition things. And I would say, not by taking your money out of one thing and putting it in another. I strongly urge everybody not to spend any money right now. I mean, make do with what you've got. This is something earth signs would really go for. They're practical. And so that's what you need to do too, Virgo. But some of it could have to do with your mental outlook, which might need a little attention, and your physical shape, and that could need a little attention. That's why I mean, solve your own problems. And just when other people want to dump their problems in your lap, Virgo, try to suggest somebody else they could go to. But ask yourself before you say a word, gee, how much time is this going to take? Because your sign rules efficiency. If you're spending all your time trying to solve somebody else's problem, who's going to solve yours? It's you that's responsible for those. And so that's where you need to keep the focus. Good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time, Libra, when you can benefit from the fact that there are two planets in the other air signs and they're both trining your sun. Okay, that's the good news. And that's because Jupiter in Gemini is trining your sun, and so is Pluto in Aquarius. They're both direct. That simply means that somebody in a high position may be very attracted to you, Libra. And they may know, if they don't know you personally, they know of you, and they sort of like your style. They like what you do. And then Jupiter in Gemini means that you're equally popular with younger people as well. And that's great. You could benefit from buying and selling anything right now, Libra. So that might be a sort of a good way of unloading things by selling them that you're not really using anymore and that you don't want. Well, try to get a little money for them and pass them on, Libra. Nothing wrong with that. But on the other hand, there could be somebody in your life, Libra, with the Sun and Neptune in Aries opposing your sun sign, that is really feeding you full of a lot of blue sky. You know, they're stringing you along. They're telling you what you want to hear, and they're sure not telling you the whole truth. And they're kidding themselves as well as you. That's the Sun and Neptune opposing your sun sign. That's going to go on for a while. And you have to ask yourself why you're wasting your time on somebody like that. You know, you may even have caught them in some deceptions. Well, that's going to go on for quite a while. And so you have to ask yourself if it's really worth it to your peace of mind to deal with that. I would say it's not going to do you any good, Libra. And then the other thing is that Mars is in Cancer, and it is squaring your sun. It's been doing that for quite a while. And so there's some family dissension somewhere, or a real estate matter that's unresolved, or there can be pressure that has to do with the home or the family or a move or some sort of ending. And it could be a sort of a contentious or a messy ending. And Libra wouldn't like that. Libra rules peace. And you're actually under good aspects, Libra, with Jupiter and Pluto trining your sun. And so I think instead of looking to your past, you need to take a real good look at your future. And there's somebody else looking back, looking at you too, Libra. Maybe you could say, well, I sort of noticed people being interested, but I don't see how they could be interested in me. I mean, you could maybe be terribly modest about that, but actually, you're under such good aspects right now that you should make the most of some sort of temporary or part-time change or work that you take on. It doesn't have to last forever. It could just be delightful. And it could lead to something bigger and better. Not by you trying to climb to the top. That's not going to work for anybody right now. But simply by you joining others. Well, you know, it's like dipping your toe in the water. What have you got to lose, Libra? It could feel good. So give a new friendship, or if there's something that you want to do, even if it's just on a part-time basis, come on, get up the courage and go and do it. It will work out much better than you think. There's going to be some nice surprise somewhere. And so I'd go for it. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time, Scorpio, when you can be favored by the trine of planets in the water signs. Because Mars in Cancer is trining your sun. That's your own ruler, so that's good. It's been doing that for a long time. It's at 27 degrees today. And it's late in the sign. But Venus, which is retrograde in Pisces, and Saturn, and Mercury in Pisces, along with the North Node, and Mercury and the North Node are also both at 27 degrees. Exactly trining Mars in Cancer and trining your sun at the same time. And 27 is a number that reduces to 9. 9 is a finishing number. It simply means that there's something, Scorpio, that you've got to finish up now. You know, I'm talking about people that are thinking that they belong at the top of the heap and they're going to climb their way up, and I guess it's just because they think they deserve it, but nobody else does. And that's not going to happen. There's no support for that. They've been kidding themselves. But I don't think you're kidding yourself, Scorpio, because you've got so much strength. I mean, Mars and Saturn are two malefic planets. They're both trining your sun beautifully. They have been doing that for a while as well. You should take advantage of that. And Mercury and Mars are both at 27 degrees. Mercury is a planet of communication. If there is somebody that you've been thinking of behind the scenes that you've never actually directly contacted, you need to end all this sort of I'm too busy to do that idea and do it. Contact somebody behind the scenes. Maybe they've been trying awful hard to contact you. Well, give it a go, Scorpio. Finish things up right now. And that could be that there is a move that you need to make, and it could be somewhere like back to your childhood home or where you used to live. That is Mars in Cancer, which moves moving and trining your sun. And then also there can be somebody that is very important to you that I think that you are beginning to realize you don't really want to live without. And so, you know, if you haven't said anything or you haven't done anything, maybe if you haven't even met them yet, you need to end that, because, you know, if that person is really involving the true feelings in your heart and you don't do anything about it, who do you think is going to be the big loser, Scorpio? Them? No, they'll move on. Those planets are going to move on. It's going to be you who missed your chance. And don't do that. Because somebody behind the scenes that you haven't told anybody about is, to them it's your whole life. And to you it's your whole life. It's a lot more important than people think. And it's somebody nobody knows about. So don't be the one who's going to be, you know, fixed signs are stubborn. Don't be the one who's waiting around for nothing. Don't waste it, Scorpio. Do your best to make contact. And if you have and have not received any reply back, well, maybe it's that, you know, something's not going to work. But at least you will know that you had tried. And that's important. You know, your sign is a sign of survival. So you can think that you're in your life, you've got to survive. But what about your heart? That needs to survive too, Scorpio. It's the essence of what's really important to you. So go for it. All right, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, there aren't any planets in your sign, but oh boy, there's 5 planets in a harsh T-cross in all the other mutable signs, and yours is a mutable sign, and one of them is your own ruler, Jupiter, which is in Gemini, opposing your sun sign. It has been doing that. It's been doing that for about 10 months or so. It's got a couple. It's going to leave on June 10th and go into Cancer, so it's not going to be opposing your sign for too much longer, which means you might have a better summer than you think, Sagittarius. But on the other hand, the moon in Virgo is squaring your sun sign. There's nothing in your sun sign, but the moon is squaring it, meaning that there's a relationship with a woman somewhere that isn't going too smoothly. And you may not be very agreeable, and they may not be. They may be sort of picking at things, and they would not share your vision. Sagittarians are broad-minded, so they're not as worried about the details as the big picture, and they're very, very well informed. They get the big picture. But so anyway, so there's a little contention there. And then your own ruler, Jupiter, is opposing your sun sign, meaning that it's a little hard for you to succeed in short ways that should be easy for you, but they're not because your ruler is opposing your sun sign. And then the big one is that there's 3 planets in Pisces, and they all square your sun. And you know, Pisces has been loaded with good planets for a pretty long time, and they've all been squaring your sun. So do you feel like you've been getting nowhere, Sagittarius? Well, you might feel like that. But behind the scenes, I think there have been a lot of things that have been worrying you, or troubling you, or seem like obstacles to you. And no matter how sincere you are, or how intelligent you are, and how well you can express yourself, there's still troublesome matters behind the scenes that are not working out to your satisfaction, and I think you're getting real tired of that, Sagittarius. But I don't think there's anything you can do about that too much at the moment. In other words, if behind the scenes you've been getting real irritated by other people, I don't think that you can do anything about it right now. And so take small steps in a direction that could involve a new beginning. And just small steps, not big steps, and not expensive steps either. You know, try to do something that proves the value of your great mind or of your work, but it might even be a repeat of something or a copy of something you've already done. In other words, make it easy on yourself. But at the same time, you could try something new. And don't kid yourself about it, and don't let anybody else kid you about it either. But still go for it, because the Sun and Neptune in Aries are trining your sun. You just have to rethink a new beginning. And if it's a new beginning that involved aiming pretty high, I would just lower my sights, Sagittarius. Who said you can't make progress? Maybe it can't be. You know, fire signs like to do everything fast. But if you just took smaller steps and still headed in the direction that was important to you, okay, it might take you longer on your journey to get to the end of it, but you'd be making progress anyway. And in the end, it's the progress that matters, not whoever's bothering you at the time. It's your own progress that counts. And so even if you have to take small steps, I suggest you do that. And Jupiter's not going to be opposing your sign after June 10th. So you're going to have a better summer than you think. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time when you do benefit by the fact that there are other planets in the earth signs. And that is because the moon today is in Virgo, trining your sun, and Uranus in Taurus is also trining your sun, and they're both direct. And so that gives your sign some support, Capricorn, and it hasn't had a lot of support lately. And so you could be thinking to yourself, since your sign does rule people's careers, and it does rule the people who do get to the top, who are heads of things, and you know, Capricorn, your ruler is Saturn, which is called the taskmaster because it requires you to not skip steps and take every single step toward a goal of yours and make sure you've got them all right. You know, you might be getting rewarded for that right now, Capricorn. Maybe the reward is going to come from an improvement in your health. The moon in Virgo is trine your sun, and Virgo rules health. And it also can be not just your physical health, but your mental health, the ideas of how you think about people or how you regard yourself now. That could be positive because the moon is trining your sun. So either your mental attitude may have improved or your physical health has improved, and that would be good. At the same time, part of the reason for that might be that there could be a little more money coming your way, that Uranus in Taurus is trining your sun. Now, I think that the easiest way to get money to come anybody's way is to sell something, or at least try to sell it. You might have to come down on your price a little bit, but still sell it. Excuse me. So in that way, you know, the money's in your pocket. So I suggest you do that, Capricorn. There could be sort of valuable things sitting right around your home that somebody else would pay for if you sold them. And that might not be such a bad idea. There's nothing wrong with sort of turning over your assets and putting the money in your pocket right now. Even if it's not a lot of money, any money that you can put in your pocket right now means that it's tiding you over a time when the world is going through financial turmoil. I'm not so certain that you're going through financial turmoil, Capricorn, but if you were able to sell things and bring that money home to you a little bit more, you'd sleep better at night. That would be good for you. Particularly if it's something that you haven't really been using very much. Even if you love it, I'd sell it, Capricorn. And put the money in your own pocket right now. That is a very good strategy for waiting out a period of time when the world is in financial turmoil. And you can't do anything about that, but you could increase your own financial base if you tried. So give it a go. All right, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, Pluto is in your sign, and the good news is it's being tried by Jupiter in Gemini, which is great. It means that you can be very popular with young people. Or you may be deciding, whoops, you don't want to spend a lot of money on some new idea that you've got, but maybe if you could get the advice or the help or the assistance of some young people, and just on a part-time basis, that may not cost you too much. And that way you'd still be getting some help, but you wouldn't be paying a high price for it. And besides, you'd be building a network of support at the same time. Nothing wrong with that, Aquarius. Particularly if you believe in a future project, you definitely would, if it was going to succeed, you definitely need more help with it as time goes on. So there's nothing wrong with building a little base of, you know, maybe when the students get out of school and they're looking for a part-time summer job, if you can afford it, maybe you should hire some help, Aquarius. That would tend to work out very well for you. Sooner the better. Jupiter's going to be trining your sun from Gemini until June 10th, and then it goes into Cancer. So, you know, either meet some young people now or advertise or something. Gemini rules advertising, while it can do you some good. And that would be a way for you to take small steps and benefit from the wonderful enthusiasm and curiosity of younger people. Because if you're a pretty well-established Aquarian, it doesn't mean that you're up on all the new stuff, but they are for sure. It's their world that they're working in. And maybe by inviting them into your world, you would benefit equally by being exposed to their world. And you need that as badly as they need you. And you all want to go forward in the future. That you've got that in common. So I hope you sort of decide to branch out a little bit. This is not a time to aim for the top, but it is a time perhaps for you to extend your influence and ask for help from others that can influence you as well. That would be nice. Great way to spend the summer. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time, Pisces, when I think that you are very concerned with how you feel about something. And that your feelings have gotten to the point where you can think about them real clearly. And that's good. And the reason why it's so good right now for you Pisces is because Venus is in your sign, but it's retrograde. So you're sort of rethinking who you really care about or why you care about them. Or you could be rethinking about somebody that you've had in your secret heart for a long time. Or it could be a goal or a dream of yours that you've had for quite a while. And maybe you're just saying, oh, okay, I can get up and do this. Well, you're right about that, Pisces, because you've got Saturn in your sign. It's direct. Venus is the only retrograde planet. So you need to rethink who you care about a little bit. And I hope you hone it down to the one who's really deepest in your heart. And it could be for very private reasons. You wouldn't exactly be, you would not have discussed that with a lot of people. But somebody could be awfully important to you. Whether you've ever met them or not, they would be important to you. And then Saturn is in your sign, and it is direct. And so these planets all sextile each other. Venus sextiles Saturn, Saturn sextiles Mercury, and the North Node. This is a fortunate time for you, Pisces. And what's so fortunate about it is it's happening all behind the scenes. It's within your realm. Pisces are very good at meeting the public and dealing with people, but they live in another world inside of them. They live in their own world too. It's a double-bodied sign. They can do that. And in your own private world, you could really have cared for somebody for quite a long time, whether you ever told them that or not. And this is when you got to think about that some more. You know, ask yourself, Pisces, is it on or over? And decide. Because, you know, it's a little bit like something that withers after a while. Either you do something about somebody you really care about, or it'll wither. It will wither away. And you don't want to do that, Pisces. You want to live. You want to survive. You want to rise higher. You want to heal. And nobody heals all by themselves. We need each other. And that's the truth. But there is somebody, what you might call a private love of yours, that the world doesn't know about, that you care about. And you should, sort of last chance, you should do something about that. You really should. You have the stamina to do it because Saturn is being tried by Mars in your sign. There can be some more money coming to you, but you also could just be working your heart out right now, Pisces, and doing a great job of it. I mean, Pisces are not overconfident people, but, you know, you could be looking around right now, Pisces, and saying, oh, I did all that right. Or, oh, everybody just likes everything that I just did. Might surprise you. You could be very popular right now. And then Mercury is in your sign at 27 degrees exactly, trining Mars in Cancer at 27 degrees. And they're direct, both of them. So you are thinking about some sort of a move, I think. Or doing something that involves a family. It might be a new family. Or it could involve a move, and it could be a move back to where you had been raised, or where you formed your values. And it's like coming home. And that would tend to work out extremely well right now. And you would have the money for it, Pisces. Even if you didn't think you had the money, look again. You've got them. There's going to be money somewhere for that. You'll be fine. You'll do fine. As long as you're not one of those that wants to, you know, climb clear to the top based on their own ideas that they think everybody else should follow. They're kidding themselves, and besides, nobody else wants to do that right now. So skip that, Pisces. It's not that you have to start something new. You have to go back to something you love. And then that will complete a circle of love in your own heart. And I mentioned the circle of love. It really, you could call it something else. You could call it the circle of life. It's as much about your life, Pisces, as it is about somebody else's. That's why you need to act on it now. And you can just do it pretty much behind the scenes. You can do it just by taking small steps. It's okay. In medicine, I think it's in the Bible actually, it says, physician, heal thyself. And that means, wherever you've been hurting, try to heal yourself. And that comes from being true to your heart and doing your best. But you're under great aspects to succeed at that, Pisces, so congratulations. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm sorry this took a little bit longer. But we all have to sort of make it through this next week. Nothing big, folks, but take small steps. And try to solve your own problems. You know, when you get up in the morning, it's just you. That you know, you're in control of yourself. And you can, by taking small steps, you can move forward this week. And I think it's based on how you truly feel in your heart. So good luck. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for the new subscribers. And I hope you tell your friends about the Karen Campbell YouTube channel. And tell them that the show is called STARBORN. And I'd love to have them as new subscribers. And thank all of you that are my subscribers. You're the reason I'm here. Bye.